After 700 people basically told me the same story about what the ENT said to them when they first visited with tinnitus. Basically, there's nothing we can do, go home, relax, and don't worry about it too much. I'm sharing with you today in this video everything that I wish ENT doctors would tell people with tinnitus when they first come to see them. Welcome. So what ENTs are right about, right? They often tell you there's no real cure for tinnitus, which is absolutely right. And what they secondly do, and which is very important, you go there for the first time you experience tinnitus, they rule out any other serious medical causes. And this is very important. And the third one is they can help with some underlying causes such as TMJ, earwax, or infections, if you have any, that might cause any sounds that are not related to chronic tinnitus. The gap that this creates, that I mentioned at the start, from there's nothing we can do if they ruled out all the cases where they could do something, well, there's nothing medical with that we can do. But there are a lot of things that we can do in order to support you in the process of habituating to tinnitus, meaning to go from bothersome to non-bothersome tinnitus, so that you experience tinnitus but are not bothered by it, right? Tinnitus isn't just a medical experience, right? It's not just the symptom that we experience and then the doctor says, oh yeah, this is what you're experiencing and here's probably the cause of it. But it's a nervous system condition. And I wish that ENTs would tell people this at the start. Tinnitus is much more a nervous system condition than an ear condition, right? Because the biggest suffering does not come from the tinnitus or the physiological condition, but from the psychological suffering towards the tinnitus. And finally, that's why I believe coaching and community come in order to bridge this gap of the ENT says there's nothing we can do, and a whole lot of things that we can do, because I've seen it in hundreds of people working with tinnitus to help them go from bothersome to non-bothersome tinnitus. The ENTs treat ears. They do not treat your nervous system, and we cannot hold that against them. So while I know that it's extremely difficult for an ENT also to say, I'm compassionate with you, but there's nothing I can do for you, is completely different from saying, I'm compassionate with you and there is no pill or thing that I can give you to get rid of this immediately, but here are a lot of options of how we can help you to claim your life back and to live a perfectly good life with tinnitus as without tinnitus. So one of the most important things is also that the ENTs say, oh yeah, because you have very loud tinnitus, you have a very bad prognosis. This is not true at all. I've seen people with very mild tinnitus having a very high reaction, and I've seen people with very high tinnitus have a very low reaction. So tinnitus is not always equal to suffering, and every person is individual. So unfortunately, often ENTs also give you the wrong information based on the assumption that more intense T necessarily always needs to lead to more suffering. So the difference here is really not decibel levels. The difference here is nervous system response. Plain and simple. And isolation, I talked about this a lot in the recent videos, makes it a lot worse, right? And the doctor says, there's nothing we can do. You're being sent at home alone with the threat running in your brain 24/7. That's not something where you learn that this is something that I can safely experience and my brain can turn into the background. I always say when you move to a new place and there's a train running in the background, you get used to that very quickly and you can sleep again, right? And this is the same thing that can happen with tinnitus. But the doctor does not mention that, you know, learn to live with it. But how do you learn to live with it? The doctor does not mention that there is acceptance and commitment therapy, a super promising treatment, nervous system work, and a community out there that can help and support you, right? Where you don't have to feel alone at all. Leaving you to figure it out alone, not giving you any help or resources, in my opinion, is one of the biggest things that I would hope ENTs would do differently when telling people that they have a very good prognosis actually when they suffer from tinnitus, if they find the right tools for themselves. So what I'm saying here is, do not blame ENTs. They are trained to look at the physiological conditions of your ear. And for the physiological condition of the ear, there's not much we can do for tinnitus. Hearing aids where they're appropriate, but apart from that, it's nervous system work that helps us to habituate to tinnitus. And that's not the ENT's domain. Speaking to if an ENT is watching this video, what I have learned from working with all these people is, first of all, the nervous system can be retrained. How much someone is suffering today in your ENT office is not determining their prognosis over the next 3 to 6 months. Not at all. Because it really depends on how well they can use these practices of acceptance and commitment therapy, feel like they get more control over their sleep, their nervous system, their anxiety levels. And ENT don't teach this, but this really is the foundation. And of course the ENT is not trained to do that. And it is something that we have created over the past few years, for example, with my Tinnitus.club or my coaching program. The way that community accelerates habituation is the opposite of being left alone at the ENT, being told there's nothing we can do, you just got to figure it out alone, other people also can do this. Yeah, but who are these other people? Can you connect me with some? No, data privacy, I can't. Maybe you can find a support group. Yeah, okay. Here, inside my Tinnitus.club, the place that I built, you have an online worldwide support community network, plus all these ACT tools that teach you how to re-regulate your nervous system to go from bothersome to non-bothersome tinnitus in a 12 weeks program. I always get the story, I love to share the story, that we had this one member who always said, like, I'm within the 1% that can't habituate. She was in the first group meeting with exactly the same people who struggled with exactly the same thought a few months ago, and they told them, I'm well on my way to habituation and I never thought this would be possible. I thought I was part of the 1%. This is how cognitive distortions can function to prevent you from habituating, because the thought says, I'm not habituating, I'm part of the 1% group. It's a thought. Your tinnitus doesn't care about this thought, but you're having this thought and your nervous system gets activated, right? So it's not from some sort of app or supplement or something that the ENT tells you, but exactly from this community and learning how to change the way your brain and nervous system see tinnitus. And one of the most important things that I know some ENTs tell you, but not all, is that living your life is the treatment. So don't wait for habituation to happen to live your life, but start living your life now, despite the tinnitus. Because your brain will learn that you are safe, that you can do everything that you want to do despite having tinnitus. That is when the tinnitus fades into the background and can go to non-bothersome, because you're slowly teaching yourself and your nervous system that you can do everything you want to despite the presence of your tinnitus. I love reading in silence. I have loud tinnitus. I'm deaf in one ear. I have a hearing aid. Yeah, I love reading in silence. I love meditating in silence. I love cycling in nature. I love all of these things, and I do them despite my tinnitus every single day. My tinnitus is 0% of a problem. The ENT can't prescribe this, but you can access it, right? You can access these tools and things in order to get from bothersome to non-bothersome tinnitus via, for example, accessing our 12 weeks program at mytinnitus.club and joining the supportive community. The biggest problem is that the medical model for tinnitus works for medical problems. And if you have an infection, you take antibiotics. If you have a tumor, you get surgery. But tinnitus is not a medical problem that you can fix. It's a nervous system condition that you habituate to. And that habituation requires ACT tools, nervous system regulation, as we talked about, a community that supports you, and if you're particularly bad, maybe some personal coaching. And none of this happens in a 15-minute ENT appointment. What I would like ENTs to be able to say to you is, there's nothing medical we can do to eliminate the sound, but you can habituate through nervous system work, ACT, community, and some supportive places that will be there for you. So, and here, this being told, I've been told there's nothing we can do, is unfortunately very incomplete, because there's a lot we can do. And you will find hundreds of videos here on my channel. You'll find success stories from people who've been through my program, coaching and community. And you will find the fact that you are not alone with this condition, that we're there for you, that despite what the ENT tells you there is nothing we can do, there's a whole lot that we can do, and we are already doing it. So if you're interested in finding out more and joining our club, then go to mytinnitus.club. Or if you just want to get started and read a little bit more on habituation and acceptance commitment, then go to www.habituate.online. I hope that this video was useful for you. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video next week. Like it, comment, and let me know what you thought about it. And yeah, I'm very thankful for our big YouTube community with over 100,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for every single one of you. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in next week's video. Goodbye.